also, when I was creating this project, I ran into this problem where the regular security could and tends to try to stop human actions, even if it wasn't a malicious agent or a shadow AI. It would tend to think that it will be either or and stop the act in milliseconds, meaning that when creating this project to that could essentially detect and protect the project from shadow AIs and rogue agents, it learned how to do that. But in doing that, it would tend to think that anybody that was trying to access it, even if it was the owner of the project, it would think it was also a rogue agent essentially. And the layer was created to aim to create a digital hall of mirrors to transfer malicious entities and also creating a fake API document, which could essentially result in internal directories that points to a sandbox environment, which essentially meaning that in creating this hall of mirrors, it will be able to detect anybody. It will essentially root out all the malicious agents versus the original owners of the project. And in doing so, anybody who is caught as essentially like the malicious agent, it will be sent to a sandbox environment where it will try to essentially learn how the malicious agent is moving or their patterns so that the project can be able to learn from it and learning how these people move, they are able to create new defenses to protect the project from maybe an AI trying to break in or a malicious person trying to essentially steal and encrypt the data essentially. And so to disrupt the loop, a tactical distortion could be fed to a rogue agent, slightly inconsistent dummy data, so that we can force it to constantly reorient. And the goal of that is to increase the cost of attack so that every second that is spent on it from an agent analyzing the data, um, it essentially will take in it what the agent is doing as data and essentially as it's taking data, it will try to push out essentially fake info or fake data so that the agent will then think that it's being fed real information, even though it's just fake data being fed. And so that not only will it cause the agent to spend more time on the project and trying to encrypt the data, the project itself could learn from it and protect the data essentially. And the automation logic is essentially the goal of this is to have a trigger mechanism that can immediately detect when a non-human identity touches a deception token and having an analysis of request velocity, header consistency, and navigation patterns would be beneficial for heuristics, and so that the further could distinguish between a misconfigured internal service and a malicious external agent. And so the goal of all of this is to free revocation, and instant invalidation of a JWT/API token and isolate what the agent is doing and send them to, like I said earlier, a sandbox VLAN, essentially so that the agent is put into a containment unit so that the behavior is studied and learned without any data is put at risk, essentially. Securing the mesh is important because the shadow AI is a huge problem when it comes to it becoming a unmanned AI, especially as an agent. For example, like browsers, extensions, or third-party integrations trying to act as on behalf of users. Essentially, these like browsers, extensions could try to go ahead and do things for the users so that the users aren't having to do it themselves. But because they're trying to do things for the users without maybe the users knowing, it could then maybe put the users at risk by maybe trying to steal information without the users knowing, and etc. etc. So all internal agents must have a workload to manifest in protecting the data, and a mutual TLS is required for all internal communication. Dynamic secrets moving away from statistic keys to short-lived identity-based tokens. AI hardening, AI hardening, protecting the interference phase. Some of the defense against evasions are adversarial training, which essentially is just purposely attacking our own models during a development to build immune responses, essentially meaning that we're testing our own models to essentially be sure is A, working and doing what it needs to do, but also B, creating new protection data methods in case of, say, if the model didn't pick something up the first time, you then now have a new way to protect the method by testing it so that you can next time go in and code it into the cybersecurity defense. But also, you can also feature squeeze and essentially reduce the sensitivity of the model inputs to essentially destroy the subtle noise used in adversarial attacks. And the future proofing of this is to essentially stop the threat that is a harvest now, decrypt later attacks by the quantum capable adversaries. Essentially, what they'll do is try to take as much information in as they can so that whenever they get done taking the information, they could then decrypt it later, and essentially all of the information could then come out later, essentially when they get done decrypting it. And so the status of it will change because it will be moved to a post-quantum cryptography. So the conclusion of this is the result of this project is so that it is moved from just a simple little project to a machine that will be able to protect against the agents of tomorrow. Um, and Project Edges is now a fully hardened, compliant, and quantum-ready security ecosystem so that we have cybersecurity defenses that are able to protect our information from any malicious AI and or malicious agents. but it won't just be humans.